Hi there, I'm Daniel Sandler and you are tuning into mybeautyanswers.com. I've got with me here today Marie Reynolds. Now Marie, apart from being one of my oldest and dearest friends, is someone whom I respect because of her incredible skill at understanding the body and the skin, and has a general wonderful way of life when it comes to well-being. Now Marie is here in the studio with me, and I just want you to get to know her a little bit more, because she provides the most amazing services, which some of the services you would never heard of, and you'll go, what is that? What is that? It's all very alternative, but this is why I love her so much, because what she does works, and I want her to explain to you alternative therapies that you could try, because sometimes you try things and they just haven't worked, and maybe you haven't gone to someone who you thought really was an expert. Well, this girl studied. She really knows her stuff, and I'm delighted that she's here. And this is the Marie Reynolds.
Hello.
Hello, sweetie.
Hello, it's nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Let's get straight to it, and just tell me a little bit about your beauty background, because what has got you to where you are today within the industry as an expert? You didn't start off as the expert. Tell me about how you grew into beauty and well-being and everything.
Well, I think, you know, from a child I've always had an interest in medicine and the body. I mean, other kids would be playing with dolls and things like that, and I used to ask my mum and dad for their old prescriptions. I could have gone from one way or another, and I always used to want to bandage my dollies up or
Right.
do something like that. So I was always really quite obsessed with health and well-being, and I went through the beauty route, and even though it was great, it just didn't sit right. And then I did a course on Oriental diagnosis, which I found fascinating. But I wanted to know, well, why does that mean this? And how does this mean that? So over the years, I took pictures of people's feet and pictures of people's ears. I'd even stop people in cafeterias. How I haven't got a slap, I don't know. Because if somebody had a really interesting pair of ears, I'd go up to them and say, would you mind if I took a picture of your ears? And
But hang on, why ears, why feet? And how does that relate to the Chinese side of things?
The thing is with the Chinese side of things is the feet, it's the tree and the branch philosophy. So if the tree is angry, you go to the root. So I always went to the root of the tree. Now, it's not reflexology. Reflexology is a completely different thing. So I look at length of toes, how the toes are formed, whether they're twisted, how the nails are shaped, if there are any tendons going up the sides of the toes, if there's discoloration in the feet, different vascular patterns in the feet, the width of the feet. Everything means something. Every line, every mark tells a story. So we're all walking, talking novels, really. But it didn't stay with the feet. It also then went to the back. So I read implicit tissue memory. So everything has a memory in our body, and you can tell from different tensions in the skin where they are in the zones of the back. They mean something, and they can link to an emotion. Right. They can link to an organ, and they can also link to a genetic pathway. So,
or an experience.
Exactly.
Of some trauma, probably.
Exactly. Exactly.
So looking at someone's feet, are you able to generally diagnose what is wrong with that person? I mean, it almost sounds like you're a bit like looking into a crystal ball, and you're saying, I can tell what's wrong with you. Ah, yes, it's your gut. Yeah. Does it kind of work like that, or is it more complicated?
Yeah. See, I had something written about me about the skin psychic. There's nothing psychic about it.
Right.
You have to have an intuitive notion to it. You know, you have to be quite intuitive. But the thing is, you'll get people. Again, it's not a one size fits all. I could deal with somebody that is what I call a blocker. But I could look at them and I could tell straight away that they have stomach anxiety.
What have I got today then?
Well, I always said that you was the swan on water paddling like hell underneath, and you have a lot of anxiety, and sometimes it's again that fear and you know, certain things. But you know, looking at your feet, there's other bits and pieces that come into play, because we are what we are by what we eat, experience and inherit.
Right.
But we start experiencing from week 6 of conception. And then that goes into another part of what I do, which is the Bowen Technique. So that works on fascia. Fascia is really, really interesting to me.
And that's a support network.
It's a support network, but it also holds a conductive electricity, piezoelectric current. So with the Bowen Technique, there's specific movements that are done at specific points that send a current to the brain faster than the nervous system, and it allows the body to correct. So that goes back to the genetic blueprint. So it all sounds a little bit wired and out there, but it's all about, your...
Yes, tumbleweeds.
Yeah, but it's again, and that's it. So it's all about your journey from the moment you're conceived, because even if your mother was stressed, it will show in you.
Now, this is the noetic side of your treatment. Is there a distinct difference between noetic and Bowen?
No, I believe that they're all part of a puzzle, because noetics is all encompassing.
Right.
Noetics is basically how thoughts and emotions affect the human form. It's based on Einstein's theory, E equals mc squared, energy equals matter. So your thoughts will create a frequency that will then transfer into living matter.
Right, okay.
The easiest way I can explain it is if somebody came in to tell you some bad news, you'd have a physical response. Your heart rate would increase, your breathing would be affected, your muscles would tense up, and you'd feel like you'd want to have an evacuation of the bowel or be sick.
Yeah,
so that is a physical response of something that's a chemical process of what you've heard of your thought process.
Makes sense. It's got to come in somewhere, got to come out somewhere.
Exactly.
Okay. Or you get a headache or some other kind of symptom.
Yeah.
And they can sometimes, I dare say, have delayed reactions with things. Things don't always happen immediately.
No.
So you've got to trace it back.
Yeah, and also a lot of people are processors. You're a processor. You think about things and you slowly process things. You won't instantly react. And sometimes that can fester.
Right.
And sometimes you can overprocess and overthink. He's getting panicky now because I'm looking at him.
I'm loving this.
So what happens is that you become overwhelmed, and when you get overwhelmed, you get stressed. So what happens is that when you become overwhelmed and you overthink things, those chemical processes start laying down, and that's when you might start getting things like irritable bowel, or you start getting stress in your stomach.
Or you just can't sleep, which is usually my thing.
Yeah, so again, but that's the analytical mind.
I wish I could switch it off. But I have tried meditation, actually. 10 minutes during the day has really helped me. I found this app where I get this, meditation thing and that helps.
Yeah, but again, you will get people that say, I do meditation, but I always say, you're going through the motions, so you're having it, but you're not receiving it, because you'll often find that people that will start meditation and then all of a sudden they're thinking, right, well, I've got to do this, and I've got to go shopping, or he said this, and what am I going to do later on? So that is where literally you've reprogrammed your brain into that what's called sympathetic nervous system.
So how can people reboot themselves and reprogram? It's not an overnight thing.
Absolutely not.
So, and you can help people to do that with their health, the balancing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it does take time, especially if people have gone through some really horrific traumas in their life that can trigger crippling conditions like really bad crippling migraines or IBS or, all sorts of things. I mean, I can tell by feeling a pulse point in your toe through doing visualisations, and there's certain visualisations I do, and it's not like you're walking through a forest, which is fine. Yeah. These are visualisations that are specific to the individual. Right. And I can actually tell where they block off. And that links to certain emotions, and it links to the, certain weaknesses that they may have. Right. But we're only born with two fears, and that's the fear of falling and the fear of noise. Everything else is learned behaviour. Right. So it can be unlearned. Okay. And it's all about reprogramming. But it does take time. Of course, and society does condition us to behave a certain way. The pressures of work every day, the pressures of family life, how you're going to pay the bills, all these things all add to it. Well, it does, but fundamentally, I always say to whether you can or whether you can't, you're right. Right. So if you believe you can do something, you'll do it. If you believe you can't do it, you won't do it.
Right.
And the worst thing that we can do is first thing in the morning, which we're all guilty of, is getting up straight away and on the treadmill. You know, just get up and just allow yourself to stop.
Right.
You know, if people are being really mean, or if you're working for somebody who's a boss who's really mean, or if someone's putting a lot on you, you know, tell yourself, well, can I actually, or if somebody's really upsetting you, tell yourself, can I actually do anything to change the behaviour of that person? If you can't, offload it. Cut it off. A lot of people say it's easy, but it's not as easy as that. It isn't as easy as that. You have to really keep, even I do it now. I mean, I've recently had some things where I allow myself to be taken off and get really stressed, and I have to work on myself all the time.
Of course.
You know, so
Yeah.
it's a continual thing, but I'm not prepared to let those things have a physical impact on me, because it does. It causes me to lose sleep, or
Yeah.
feel stressed, or feel sick, you know, and it's something like that. But that's what Noetics is. It's all about how thoughts and emotions affect the human form.
Which completely makes sense now.